Hello, I'm David Rubenstein, and I have the privilege today of introducing a couple people and interviewing them about an area called Focused Ultrasound, which is a medical technique that I think many people would like to know more about. It's done quite wonderful things, and I learned about it by reading materials given to me by Dr. Neal Kassell, who I'll introduce in a moment, and also from John Grisham. So they are the two people that I'm going to interview today. Let me give you a little bit about their background. Dr. Kassell is a leading neurosurgeon. He was the co-head of neurosurgery at University of Virginia for a number of years, and now he has organized the Focused Ultrasound Foundation, and he's very actively involved in that. Also on that foundation board is John Grisham. John Grisham, like me, is a lawyer by training, but he did better than me. He got out of it in a way that enabled him to become one of the leading authors in the world, and he's not only written enormous numbers of thriller fiction works, but also he's written a book on ultrasound or focused ultrasound, and we'll talk about that in the course of this discussion. All right, Dr. Kassell, you were trained as a neurosurgeon, is that correct?
That's correct.
So let me ask you, how did you get interested in focused ultrasound, and can you explain to people who are not experts in it what actually is focused ultrasound?
So I got interested in this about 15 years ago. And at that time, I'd been casting about for a solution to a number of patients I had, a large number of patients who had tumors that were either in unresectable locations or patients whose tumors had maxed out in terms of surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. And at the same time, I was doing research using ultrasound and microbubbles to measure blood flow in the brain. And I can remember precisely driving home one day, I had that moment of epiphany where I realized that there was a potential to use ultrasound plus or minus microbubbles to treat these patients with otherwise unresectable tumors. And I got really excited because I'd been doing research since 1962, and I figured I finally had a Nobel Prize winning idea. So I raced home and went to the internet, and I discovered that focused ultrasound was a Nobel Prize winning idea. It just wasn't mine.
John, can you tell us how you got involved? But before you do so, you obviously have a background that is of great interest to many people. You're one of the best known authors in the United States. So how did you manage to escape the practice of law and get into writing thrillers?
Well, I only practiced for 10 years. And about halfway through that brief career, I got the bug to write. And I started writing my first book. And it became a dream to be able to write full time. I was very unhappy as a lawyer, a small town lawyer in Mississippi, and wasn't making any money and not really getting anywhere. And got the bug to write a novel. And over a 5-year period, the last 5 years I practiced law, I wrote my first 2 books, Time to Kill, then The Firm. And The Time to Kill came out in 1989. It was a complete flop. We couldn't give the books away. But I kept writing, and I thought I had a second story that might be a bit more commercial and accessible. And when The Firm was published in March of '91, everything changed overnight, and I could finally walk out of the law office and quit. And I did so quickly and never looked back. So, and I've published a book a year since 1991. We moved to Charlottesville from Mississippi in 1994, and about 26 years ago. And not long after we moved here, a couple of years, I met Dr. Kassell. And he expects us all to call him Dr. Kassell around here, by the way, at the headquarters. He likes to be called Dr. Kassell. And so I met Neal, and we became buddies, and he became my own private, he's my personal brain surgeon, in case I ever need him. I have to pay him like a case of wine per year to keep on retainer. He works pretty cheap. But he's became a friend and a pal, and when he retired, he started talking about focused ultrasound, and I had no idea what he was talking about, because my background, as I said, is law, not medicine. And he asked me to be on the board probably 15 years ago to help raise awareness and help raise money for the foundation. And I didn't realize it, but once you join Neal's board, you can't get off of it. You either have to die or buy your way off of it. And so I'm on the board, and it's a great board, and we have a lot of fun.
Okay, Dr. Kassell, back to focused ultrasound for a moment. So the theory behind focused ultrasound is presumably, I guess, as a non-doctor, I'm asking you, you have sonic kind of waves that come from the focused ultrasound, and those kind of sonic waves go into the body in some way, and they do what precisely to the organs that they are targeted against?
Yeah. So the way focused ultrasound works is analogous to using a magnifying glass to focus beams of light on a point and burn a hole in a leaf. But with focused ultrasound, instead of focusing beams of light, beams of ultrasound energy are focused with a high degree of precision and accuracy on targets deep in the body, sparing the adjacent normal tissue. Where each of the individual beams goes through the tissue, it has about the same power as diagnostic ultrasound, and it has no effect. But at that focal point where the beams converge, just like where the beams of light converge and heat up that point and burn a hole in a leaf, where those beams of ultrasound converge, we now understand 18 ways in which the ultrasound can affect tissue. And that includes destroying tissue, delivering drugs in extremely high concentration, precisely to the point in the body where the drugs are needed, and avoiding a lot of the systemic side effects or toxicity, stimulating the body's immune response to cancer, and so on. The fact that there are so many different mechanisms of action creates the possibility to treat a wide variety of serious medical disorders.
Why do you need to have a foundation for focused ultrasound? Why isn't everybody saying this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and we want to prescribe it, we want to use it? Why do you think you need to be educating people through your foundation?
Well, we're early in the learning curve in the adoption of any or evolution of any new highly disruptive therapeutic technology from idea or concept and laboratory research to widespread utilization as a standard of care is a glacial process that often takes decades and requires a large number of steps. And the foundation is a unique organization that we created just to shorten the time from laboratory research to widespread utilization. And a couple of years ago, the foundation was recognized by Charity Navigator as one of the top 10 medical research organizations in the United States. It's a small organization with 40 individuals. We have people in Europe and in Asia. We very much have a global presence, even though we're based in Charlottesville.
I see. John, can I ask you about your connection with this? You mentioned earlier, but I understand that you've written a book about focused ultrasound, to the consternation perhaps of your publishers who wanted you to write more legal thrillers and said, don't spend time on this. What did you say to your publishers, and how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, I've been with Doubleday for 31 years, and they published all of my books. They even bought the rights to A Time to Kill and republished that. So, over 30 years, I've written 44 books for Doubleday, so they're pretty happy. I keep them happy. If I write a legal thriller every year, they're very happy. I got the idea for a book called The Tumor as a way of illustrating the success of focused ultrasound surgery, the goal, what we would like to accomplish with it. And I did so with the brain tumor. We picked the brain tumor because it works for dozens of different tumors now. It basically cooks the tumor without surgery. And so I wrote the book. Neal helped me with the medicine and science because I needed a lot of help. And the idea was to publish a short book tell the story. Tell the story of a young man with a brain tumor who is treated traditionally, the way you're treated now with surgery, and he lives about a year. And then treat him again with focused ultrasound 5, 10, 15 years from now when we finally get this surgery approved and available and reimbursable by insurance company. But by the time it's all done, that's our goal with the foundation, is to get there where we can treat all these tumors. And but tell the story of the young man with a good outcome. And the focused ultrasound surgery would not make the tumor go away completely, but certainly reduce it, give him a high quality of life for another 15, 20 years. So that's what the story's about. And the idea was to make the book available online everywhere for free. And so we could sort of spread the message and raise awareness. And that's what we did. The book was published 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
And your interest in this is not personal in the sense that you haven't had to use focused ultrasound, but you intellectually think it's a good thing.
Yes, it's a very good thing. It's a very exciting technology. It's very exciting what we're going to accomplish, what we're trying to accomplish now. And I'd been lucky in life in that no one had been sick in my family. And as I was talking to Neal about joining the board and resisting a little bit, both my mother and my sister were diagnosed with cancer at about the same time. And it really was a wake-up call for me. And I thought, well, let me get involved here and try to help. And it's been quite enjoyable. And we're still very excited about the urgency of this procedure of focused ultrasound, because it will save. I couldn't write another book that has the potential to save a lot of lives or to improve the health of millions of people. And that's what the tumor, and that's what focused ultrasound is all about.
I see. Dr. Kassell, I'm listening to you, and let's suppose I'm watching now, and I say, okay, sounds great to me. I'm going to go to my doctor and say, give me some focused ultrasound. Is my doctor going to say, it's not approved, I don't know anything about this, it's a specialized thing? How does one actually get focused ultrasound treatment?
Well, it's approved today for 6 indications in the US, and around the world it's approved for about a total of 30. The chances are, if you go to your doctor and say, I've got prostate cancer, he may not have heard about focused ultrasound. And if he has heard, he may be reluctant to prescribe it because it's not widely available. He may not be able to do it. So there's a healthy skepticism still about focused ultrasound because we need more rigorous scientific evidence of long-term safety and efficacy of cost. And, and again, there's resistance to adoption of a technology like this by many physicians because it disrupts practice patterns, it disrupts referral patterns, there's economic consequences. Having said that, we're making a lot of progress.
So let me ask you, let's suppose I go to a doctor and he says or she says, I don't really recommend it, I don't know much about it. How does one find a doctor who will prescribe it?
They can go to the foundation's website, which lists every one of the 130 indications that are in various stages of research and development and commercialization around the world. And that will direct the patients to sites where clinical trials are ongoing or sites where it's commercially available for prostate cancer, for benign prostatic hypertrophy, for essential tremor, for Parkinson's tremor, for pain from bone metastasis, and so on.
Okay, so let's go back to, I want to use a focused ultrasound. I go to your website, I find a doctor who will prescribe this and take advantage of it, and I can take advantage of it. Is it the case that I would get a focused ultrasound in lieu of chemotherapy or a radiation or surgery, or it's in addition to?
Well, it depends. Focused ultrasound can be used by itself to treat certain disorders, but in other instances, it's used in combination with surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy or immunotherapy.
I see. And back to the situation where I find a doctor who says, okay, I'm a believer in focused ultrasound. I can prescribe it along with your other doctor, let's say. And I say to the doctor who's ready to prescribe it, is my insurance going to pay for this? And the answer is?
It depends. So for essential tremor, which is a cousin of Parkinson's disease, it is now covered nationwide by Medicare, and a number of commercial insurance companies are picking it up. Prostate cancer on a sort of sporadic basis is also covered. So it takes a long time to go through the regulatory process, and there's 6 indications, as I mentioned, that are approved by the FDA. And today, it takes even longer before they get reimbursed, and 2 or 3 indications currently are reimbursed. And that's just a manifestation of the fact that the field is still young and evolving.
Okay. John, back to your involvement. You are, as I mentioned, a lawyer, and now you're obviously a famous writer. When people come up to you and they say, well, John, we respect your writing ability, and we know you must have been a good lawyer as well, but why should I listen to you about science or focused ultrasound? You know much about it. What is your response?
I tell them to go to the website. We have a great website that can walk you through many, many aspects of our work, the actual focused ultrasound procedures, the research. You know, the foundation is all about it's research. The more money we have, the more research we can do, and the faster we can have this game-changing procedures technology available to many, many people.
Okay. So Dr. Kassell, back to your foundation. How does the foundation get supported? Do you go out and solicit money? If somebody wants to support you, can they send you a check? How do people support the foundation?
The vast amount of money we raise is philanthropic from individuals and from foundations. And the monies come in tranches from $3 to more than $20 million from a fabulous, fabulous group of individuals. The major donors come back year after year and continue to support us not only with their money, but with their minds.
Okay. Now, how many years have you now been focused on this foundation?
We started it in October of 2006, and it had been germinating for about a year before that.
All right. So to date, you're reasonably happy with the progress, but what you're looking for is more support, I assume.
We are more than happy with the progress. I mean, 15 years ago, when we were thinking about this, we had this sort of bold, audacious, actually crazy idea that we were going to improve the lives of millions of people around the world with a wide variety of serious medical disorders by creating a revolution in therapy using this amazing technology, focused ultrasound. At that time, those were just words. It wasn't even a vision. It was more of a fantasy. Well, much to our astonishment and everyone's astonishment, the foundation has been way more successful than any of us anticipated. And consequentially, the field has grown much more rapidly than anybody would have imagined.
Okay. So John, let me, as we get toward the end of our conversation, what about any hints about your next thriller or anything that your fans might want to know about when you're coming out with another book that they're going to likely buy?
Well, funny you should ask, David. I this morning sent the manuscript back to New York for the last time with the final copy edits of a big, thick novel that I started writing in January, because I start every January. It's called A Time for Mercy. It's a sequel to A Time to Kill. It will come out on October the 13th, and soon available in fine bookstores everywhere, we hope.
Okay, so Dr. Kassell, let me ask you a final question. Let's suppose somebody is watching here and they don't have a good memory, or they have a very short attention span, and they want to walk away from here just being able to talk a little bit about focused ultrasound. How would you summarize what somebody should know about focused ultrasound in a paragraph or two?
Focused ultrasound is the most powerful sound you will never hear, but it's a sound that could someday save your life. Focused ultrasound is a game-changing, highly disruptive, non-invasive therapeutic technology that will change the way a wide variety of serious medical disorders are treated. Sooner or later, everyone who's watching this video, or a loved one, or a friend, is going to develop a disorder that could be treated by focused ultrasound. Learn more about it, spread the word.
Well, Dr. Kassell, thank you for your spreading the word. And John Grisham, thank you for your being involved and your support and lending your credibility as a person who is very smart, who is interested in this area. And I want to thank you for teaching me a lot about it. And I hope those who are watching this video learn a fair bit about it and decide to go onto your website. Hopefully people will also decide that they might want to become supporters. So Dr. Kassell, John Grisham, thank you very much for this conversation.